Why and how do you think English grew to be identified as a universal language? Apart from being the most popular language, English is also an official language in more than 50 countries across the world. And it is only fair to say that this dominance seeps into the business world as well. Even if you have good command over basic colloquial English, learning business English will give you the chance to display an even more comprehensive and professional vocabulary, leading to new opportunities in your career. Thus, if you wish to walk the extra mile and convey a bold impression at the workplace with an excellent functional vocabulary, then this course is meant for you. In this course, you will acquire English language skills suited for an office or other business environments. Through an understanding of the communication skills required in the workplace, you can gain enough confidence to build strong relationships with your colleagues and clients as well. So let's wait no more and jump right into an exciting session ahead.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions and I'll respond to your comments. Hello, my name is Shantanu Rana and I am going to teach you this course on Business English by Great Learning. I am very sure that as soon as you see this screen which says Learn Business English, you must be thinking that what exactly is the importance of Business English? Why can't we just talk in regular English and our work will be done, even when we are in an office setting? Let me explain this to you very clearly. So let's take this example where you are talking to your friends or maybe to your family or to anybody that you know about. You know their belief system, you know their values, you have been with them from a long time, and now it's not a big deal for you to communicate anything to them. Why? Because you understand them. So whatever words you are going to choose or whatever sentences you are going to choose, that will not really impact how your intentions are delivered to that person. But now take example number two, where you maybe let's say you are talking to some client, or maybe you are talking to somebody from some different team within the same organization in an office setting in the corporate world. You don't really know who's the next person. You don't really know from which culture they come here. You don't really know what are their belief system, their values, their interests. So it is very important to choose your words and your sentences very precisely in order to make sure that the intentions are delivered in the correct form. Let's say you choose your random words and random sentences in a family setting. That may not affect anything because anyway your intentions will be clear to the second party. But when we are in an office setting in a business world, whatever we say is going to affect a lot how your intentions are eventually delivered to the second party. And that is the main reason we need to understand how things actually work in the corporate world and how we can communicate effectively using business English. We will be learning what are some phrases that we can use in order to make sure that we maintain the respectability at an organization level, and at the same time we can negotiate, we can convince, and we can get the work done. All those things we will be exploring in this particular course. So without wasting much of your time, let's first look at the agenda and see what all we are going to cover one by one, and then we'll take each of these topic and we'll cover that in detail. So as you can see on the screen, the first thing that we are going to discuss is Introduction to Business English. I will be telling you what exactly is Business English and what are some of the differences between regular English and your Business English. Then the importance or the need of Business English, a part of it we have already understood. We will be understanding it in detail in this particular module. Then methods of business communication. It can be written, it can be verbal, it can be web conferencing as well. All these three methods we will be discussing. Then attending job interviews. I will also be telling you some important questions that are generally asked in interview, how you can answer those questions, what are the ingredients that you should have for those questions, how exactly you can prepare, what are some common do's and don'ts, some phrases that you can use. All those things we will be discussing in attending job interviews. Then writing business emails. I'll be telling you what are the elements of a particular mail, how exactly you can write a proper mail in order to make sure that your intentions are delivered correctly. Then business phone calls, whenever you are talking to a person, maybe to a client or to somebody else within the same organization or from a different organization, how exactly you can talk to them, how exactly you can, start the conversation, then end the conversation. Some example phrases also I will be telling you. Then business English for negotiation. It can be related to maybe salary negotiation or related to some deals, some orders, anything. How exactly we can use certain phrases, certain examples, everything I'll be discussing in negotiation part. Then making presentations. You'll also be knowing by this time that presentation is a very, very important part of corporate world. Whenever you are supposed to present anything in front of the crowd, in front of the audience, clients, you always use PPTs, the presentations. How exactly you can deliver your intentions clearly, some phrases, some important aspects we will be seeing in this module. And then at the end, I will be giving you some business abbreviations that you can use in your workplace, in your day-to-day life, in an office setting. So all those things we will be covering one by one, and you will be a master of business English. All right. So now let's try to understand that what exactly is business English and how it is different from general English. So as you can see on the screen, that business English is a type of English used in professional situations, or you can say an office setting or a business setting, such as international trade, commerce, finance, insurance, banking, and many other business contexts. So whatever English that is used in any business context, in any office setting, that is nothing but your business English. It includes requirements for clarity, specific terminologies, phrases, and grammatical structures for sure. Then the main goal of business English is to carry the message across and to reach an agreement. It's actually the main goal of any communication. If you talk about any communication, that's nothing but to make sure that the message is delivered to the second party in the correct form. If there is any mismatch between your words and sentences and the intentions that are delivered, it's not a very good communication. It's not effective. To make sure that the communication is effective, whatever you are saying should be parallel to whatever your intentions are. So if your intentions, your words are in sync with each other, then that communication is said to be complete. That is an effective communication. And that's what business English is all about. Because most of the times when we are communicating with a client or a person who's from a different team or within the same team at an organizational level in an office setting, we may not know what are the belief system that the person is coming from and what are the principles that he is having, what kind of things that he like, his interests, his values or her values. We may not know about these things. So it becomes very, very important to choose your words wisely in order to make sure that the message is delivered in the correct form, in the original form, and your words and your thoughts are in sync with each other. Now let's try to understand that what is the difference between general English and business English. So the usage of fundamental vocabulary and grammar is more prevalent in general English. It mostly focuses on your day-to-day speech. So whenever maybe we are talking to our friends, our family, and if sometimes you use these basic slangs also, that's nothing but a part of your general English. But when we are in an office setting, then we have to use a English which is more comprehensive and more detailed. So to make sure that the message is delivered in the correct form. Because just assume in an office setting, if a message is not delivered in the correct form, it can be a very big disadvantage for the organization and for you as an individual. Maybe you will lose on money, on your time, on your effort. There can be various drawbacks of that. So we have to make sure that the message is delivered correctly. And that's why business English is more comprehensive and more detailed. And sometimes we use business English to serve multiple purposes as well. We are trying to talk to somebody, we are trying to communicate, at the same time maybe we are trying to negotiate, we are trying to convince also. So there are so many aspects that comes with business English, and that's why we say that it is more detailed. And if we talk about general English, it has a very relaxed tone to it, because maybe we know the next person, we know what their principles are, what their values are. So eventually whatever words or sentences that we are going to use, that may not have a very big impact on how our intentions are delivered in a family setting or in a normal day-to-day life. But when we talk about an office setting, then it becomes very important. Then these things are going to make an impact on how our messages are delivered. Then it can lead to new opportunities and empower people who want to advance in their career. So if you know business English, definitely you will be able to communicate effectively in an office setting, and definitely it is going to help you throughout your career, because communication is extremely important, and especially effective communication is something that we are going to learn, and that's what business English is all about. All right. So now let's try to understand that what exactly is the importance of business English. As you can see on the screen, there's a very famous quote by Bernard Werber, which is, between what I think, what I mean, what I say, what I believe I am saying, what you want to hear, what you think you hear, what you actually hear, what you understand, what you think you understand, and what you do understand. There are total 10 possibilities that we don't understand each other. I want to tell you something, but the way I say it is not very effective. So eventually, whatever you are going to grasp out of it will be something else. And that's not something that we want in a business setting. And that's why business English is very, very important, so that you know how exactly to deliver a message in the correct form to the second party. Maybe you are negotiating with somebody, maybe you are trying to convince somebody, maybe you are in an interview, maybe you are for a specific purpose for an organization. It can be various possibilities and various examples that we can take over here. But the main thing when we talk about business English is to make sure that the message is delivered in the correct form. Whatever you are thinking, the same thing you are saying, and the same thing is delivered to the next party. That's what an effective communication is. So make sure there is no difference between your delivery and the understanding of the other person. We need to learn all those terms, all those important phrases which are extremely important in the corporate world. As you can see on the screen, there are four major advantages that I have written for learning business English. So number one is maintaining a competitive edge. Knowing important phrases and terms as well as being able to communicate effectively in business English will help you, and if it is helping you at an individual level, in turn it is going to help the organization also that you are a part of. So it will be very good for maintaining a competitive edge in the corporate world. Then being able to negotiate, if you are negotiating with somebody, it is very, very important that you both are at the same level. Maybe the next party, the party that is sitting in front of you, is very, very good. They may feel superior and they will make you feel inferior if your communication is not very strong. So you have to make sure that you put your point forward, you are humble, respectful, polite, but at the same time, you know how to get the work done. And that's the beauty of business English. You will be polite, you will be respectful, but at the same time, you will be able to convince, you will be able to negotiate, and you will be able to get the work done, which is required in any business setting. Then giving feedback. Giving feedback is a very, very important part at any organization level when we talk about performance management. The performance is basically captured by the feedback. Whatever feedback we give to our managers or our managers give to us, all of that is nothing but going to impact the performance at an organization level. And to make sure that we give the feedback which is taken constructively, we have to make sure that we choose our words wisely. And that's what something we are going to learn with the help of business English. If you know how to communicate effectively in business English, you will be able to give proper feedback to the other party and they will take it constructively, and eventually it will help them, you, and the entire organization also. Then etiquette and politeness. To build strong business relationships, you will have to demonstrate good standards of politeness and respectability in your communication. So these are some of the major advantages of learning business English. Now that we have understood that what exactly is business English and how it is used in an office setting and what is the importance of it, so now let's directly talk about attending job interviews, or how exactly you can use business English, what are certain phrases, some examples, everything we will be discussing in an office setting when we talk about job interviews. So if you are a fresher and you are going for an interview, I will be telling you how exactly to answer some most important questions which are very common in all the interviews, be it any management interview or any technical interview. Those 4 5 questions we will be discussing, and then I'll be giving you examples of each and everything. I'll be giving you some words and phrases that you can use as it is in those interviews. So as you can see on the screen, there are 4 questions which are very common in all the interviews. And these 4 questions we will be discussing first of all. I will be telling you what all are the ingredients for the answers to these questions. So number one is tell me something about yourself. Sometimes it can be introduce yourself, or it can be take me through your resume. All these questions are nothing but the interviewer is asking for your introduction basically. So the first thing that you should keep in your mind is what exactly is the purpose of this question? Why is interviewer asking you for your introduction? This is generally the first question of any interview, any management or any technical interview, be it any HR round. There are so many rounds in any interview. But this question is common in all the interviews. And the main purpose behind this question is the interviewer wants to make you less nervous and more comfortable. They want to set a tone for the rest of the interview so that they can also decide what should be the remaining questions for that particular interview. All right. So in this particular question, you are not supposed to talk about anything which is irrelevant for the particular job or for particular company. Always talk about those skills and those strengths which are relevant for that particular job vacancy that you have applied for. Make sure you are always focused while answering this question. That is very important. So you should add your name, then you should tell them which place you are from, then you should tell them about your educational background, and if you are applying for a particular job, tell them why you are actually interested in that job. If you have taken any electives in your college, maybe related to that subject, or maybe you have done any online certifications related to that subject, add all those things. Then talk about your strengths. And when you are talking about your strengths, that does not mean that you have to say, okay, my strengths are these and these. No, you just give them certain examples. For example, I have organized a fest in my college, or let's say I have done this kind of project in my college. So all of those things will be showing that you have certain strengths, but you don't have to mention it very precisely that these are my strengths. Just give some examples and show that these are your major parts where you feel that you are very good at. Then second is what are your strengths? So this question sometimes is asked separately, like what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Or sometimes it is asked in one question itself, that please tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. Now here, this is basically a behavioral question where the interviewer is trying to know what kind of personality you are. Are you easy to work with or you are not? So this is the main purpose of this question. So what you need to remember is whenever you are answering about strengths, so make sure you add some of the core values of the organization. So let's say you are sitting for this interview and this is for some organization XYZ Private Limited. So always read and do your homework, have a proper, research done about the organization. Get to know what are the core values of the organization, what exactly is the mission or the vision or the organizational objectives. All those things you should be aware of. And then out of those things, whatever skills you possess, mention those skills. Now, strengths can be your knowledge based skills or it can be your personality traits as well, such as I'm very hardworking or I'm smart working person or I'm very organized, I'm very punctual. All of these are nothing but your personality traits. So these things also you can mention. If you have some technical skills or some other soft skills also, those can also be a part of your strengths. Now coming to next, when you are talking about your weaknesses, so make sure even when you are talking about your weaknesses, don't forget to sell yourself. That is very important. You are sitting for an interview, you are there to sell yourself. Even when you are telling them that these are my weaknesses, don't make it look like you can't change. Always show them that these are my weaknesses, but I can overcome these. I can learn new things. I am a quick learner and I am working on it. Always tell them the approach that you are taking to overcome that weakness. For example, you can say that I am a very, I get very nervous, and that's one of my weaknesses. But this and this process I am doing so that I can remove this part basically, so that I can overcome this nervousness. Or you can say, I am a perfectionist. That's why I am a little slow at times. And then tell them how you're working on it. Tell them that you always try to keep a time check so that you don't get involved in one work very deeply. Always tell them that how exactly you are working on overcoming those weaknesses. That's main point about weaknesses. Then why should we hire you? This is also a very common question which is asked in all the interviews. So here the main point is, first of all, tell about your skills and then align it with the organizational goals. Those things, like for example, you want to know about the organization goals or mission and vision of any company, you can just go to their website or their LinkedIn page and you can find out these details very easily. Always align your interests with the goals of the organization. Tell them that this is something that you want to do short term or long term, and that's how it is aligned with the goals of the organization. So that is the best way to answer this question. Now, let me give you an idea about the time also. So, whenever you are answering the first question, that is, tell me something about yourself, it should not be more than 4 minutes. The ideal time is 2.5 to 3 minutes, but don't make it more than 4 minutes for sure. So, always prepare an answer and then speak accordingly. Then, about strengths and weaknesses, don't take more than 2 minutes. 2 minutes is very much enough. It should be just, if you are asked about your strengths or weaknesses, it should be in simple two lines. You tell about your strength and you align it with the organization goals. You tell about your weakness and you tell how you are trying to overcome it. And if it is asked that why should we hire you, talk about your skills, your strengths, your perfect whatever personality traits you have which are aligned with the organization. So that's the best way to answer these four questions. Now let me give you some examples for introduction, strengths and weaknesses. So as you can see on the screen, when we talk about introduction, so this is for a fresher only. So for example, I am Rohit. I am originally from this place. So he's saying his name first and then which place he is from. Then currently I am staying in this place. I have pursued my graduation. Then he started talking about his educational background, where I had done these and these courses. He's also mentioning his score. Now this is also important to notice that you don't need to mention your scores specifically. If it is good, let's say you are in top 5% of the class or top 10% of your university, then you can mention these things. If it's not very good, do not mention it until and unless it is asked. Anyway, it will be written in your resume. So it's not something that you need to talk about in your introduction, because this is not a very strong point about you. Then you talk about, for example, I realized that I was passionate about. So he's talking about how he started getting interest into the particular field that he is applying for. Then he is talking about his hobbies also, that he started reading more and more about it. Then he has done a few online courses also. He's talking about the platforms from where he has done that. Then he read books on private equity and market dynamics. So make sure all of these things are relevant to your job. Let's say you are applying for a technical job where C++ is required. So there's no point of telling them that I can edit images. That's my skill, because that is not relevant for the job. So make sure relevancy is something which is very, very important, whatever question you are answering. So everything that you are mentioning, be it online certificates, be it any kind of projects that you have done, be it you are talking about any personality traits, all of that should be relevant to the company and to the job. Then at the end, he's talking about his like what he do in his free time. That is, in my free time, I love to sketch and watch different crime shows on Netflix. Very simple and a very precise introduction. So that's for freshers. Now let me give you some examples for strengths also. So whenever you are asked about your strengths, sometimes we know that this is something that you have, which is unique about you, but you can't find a perfect word for that. So I have written certain words over here, and you can take a screenshot of this screen as well, so that whenever you are talking about your strengths, you can use these words in those sentences. So it can be communication skills, presentation skills, or your leadership, empathy, all of these. Some are knowledge-based skills, some are your personality traits, basically. All of these are nothing but examples of your strengths. Then weaknesses. So as I already told you, even when you are talking about your weaknesses, always tell that how you are trying to overcome it also. And don't tell them anything which is very extreme. Don't tell them that you are an introvert and you just can't talk to people. You are not social, because that may be a negative point for the interviewer. So always talk about things which you can change. For example, self-criticism. So that's a weakness, but at the same time, it can be a strength also. Public speaking. easily distracted. So these things can be, if you are saying that you are easily distracted, that means that's a weakness. But at the same time, it means that you are a curious person. So you will definitely be a quick learner also. So, whatever weakness you are saying, it should have some strength attached to it. And then always tell them that how you are trying to overcome it. Now, let me give you certain phrases or certain words that you can use in any interview. You are going for any interview, there will be certain situations where you are going to agree with the interviewer or where you are going to disagree with the interviewer. So, these are certain things that you can use. Number one is whenever you are giving your opinion, so you can use such as in addition to or my views on this are. Then if you don't know, let's say in certain interviews, some questions are asked about a specific skill or maybe something else, and you do not know how to answer that question. So rather than saying a random story, always tell them that I'm sorry, I'm not sure about this. Or you can say that this is new to me, I will need to look it up. So don't make random stories that will have an impression that you are not self-aware. You don't have self-awareness. So to make sure that you are clear and precise, if you do not know anything, tell them clearly that you don't know. It's very basic because you are a human being and you are not supposed to know each and everything. So if you don't know anything, admit it and just say it out loud. Then if you want to disagree with something, let's say the interviewer is sharing his perspective and you disagree with that. So don't use the word disagree because that may look very negative. It will show that you are not very easy to work with, or maybe you will have a lot of conflicts in future. So rather than that, what you can say is that I see it differently. That's a good way of saying it. The intentions are same, but words are different. Then I see it differently. May I share my perspective? Then to ask for time, let's say you are asked a question by the interviewer and you need some time to think about it. In that case, you can say that I would like to take a few moments just to recollect my thoughts. Or could I take a moment? Ask for time, rather than just start speaking, which is not making any sense. Always take some time, channelize your thoughts, recollect your thoughts, and then start speaking. Always remember that when you are sitting in any interview, two things are very important: clarity of thoughts and clarity of words. So make sure your words and your thoughts are aligned with each other and then you speak effectively. That's what business English in an interview setting is all about. Now let's talk about writing business emails. So whenever we talk about written communication in any office setting or business setting, writing emails is extremely important. So at the same time, it becomes very, very important to understand that what are certain things that we should know about emails, what are the different elements of email, and how exactly we can design one to send it to anyone. Let's discuss all of that in this particular course. So first of all, we will be discussing some very key important points that you should know while you are writing a mail. So number one is always have a professional email address. So your email address should have your full name, that is your first name. Then you can use some dot, last name, some number, maybe your date of birth @gmail.com or yahoo.com, whatever it is. It should not be something like cooldude@gmail.com. That looks very weird in an office setting. So make sure you have a professional email address. The number two is always have a subject line. A lot of people do that they do not write the subject line, and that makes your email very not so urgent and unimportant. So make sure you always write a subject line which should be very precise, and we'll be discussing also how to write that. Then always add words of thanks whenever, even when you're just saying noted, always add words of thanks because the person is giving time to read your mail. Always thank them for this thing. Then don't send until you read and check your message. So let me give you a very simple trick for that. Whenever you are writing a mail to anyone, first you draft the mail, write the subject line, and then write the recipients. Because even if you draft the mail and you have written the subject line, if you click on send, it will not be sent until and unless you write the recipients. So always draft the mail first, check it, then write the recipients and then send. Because sometimes whenever we are writing, we can make very small grammatical or punctuation mistakes. So make sure to avoid that. First of all, you draft it and then you send it. Then pay attention to the culture of the reader. Because sometimes, let's say you are talking to some international client, certain words, certain things which are very easy for us to understand may not be that easy for them. Or sometimes which are very general in our culture may be a big deal in their culture. So always try to understand that who is the reader, who is the recipient of this particular mail, and according to that, you draft your mail. Then don't use filler words. That simply means that whenever you're writing, don't try to make it, it should be easy to understand. Write everything in active voice. Rather than saying that it was designed by me, say that I designed it. It's just three words, simple and easy to understand. Don't use passive voice. That's actually the next point. Then never use emoticons. Emoticons and everything are for your social media, WhatsApp or Insta. It's not for mail. There's no need to use emoticons. Then try to avoid these words, that is must, should, demand, necessity. These may sound a little harsh, especially if you do not know the culture of the recipient. So try to avoid these words and use some general words which are not very strong. These all are very strong words and may sound harsh to certain people. So try to avoid such words. Now let's talk about four important parts or four elements of a particular mail. So the four parts are: number one is definitely your subject line, then your greeting, how you greet the person, then the email text, whatever is the actual message, and then finally the closing, where you tell them about yourself. So these four parts now we will be discussing one by one. So number one is subject line. It should be brief, clear, and direct, not more than 5 to 7 words. So if you are, let's say, just introducing yourself, as written in the example also, you can just write introduction, Arvind Kumar. Your name is, let's say, Arvind Kumar, and you are introducing yourself to, let's say, a new team member or new colleague. Just write that much. No need to write full sentences also. Just write the main keywords. Second point is should include keywords related to the topic. Whatever is the actual message of your mail, those keywords you should write. Then capitalize all the words except prepositions. That is also very important. For example, if you see in the third example, meeting request for next week. So for is a preposition, so F is small, all other are capitalized. M for meeting is capitalized, R for request is capitalized, N for next, and W for week. This all is capitalized. So that's how your subject should be written. It should be catchy, and whenever the recipient is reading the subject, he should get an idea about the actual message of the mail. So that's the main idea. So certain examples I have written, for example, introduction Arvind Kumar, job applicant Rohan Gupta, NIT Durgapur. He's just writing. So whenever we read this mail, we can easily understand that this is basically an application for the job. Name of the person is this, and he's from this particular college. So it's very easy to understand and very catchy at the same time. Then meeting request for next week, easy to understand. The message is clear from the subject line itself. Then weekly report, 4th week of October 2020. No need to write the entire sentence that this is a weekly report for this week. Just write weekly report hyphen and the week. So that's how you write it. It should be very simple, easy to understand. It should have the main keywords. It should be catchy, and it should give you a sense of the actual message of the mail. That's about subject line. Now the second part is greeting. So number one, your greeting should be formal. It should not be hi. It can be a hi actually, but it should not be just a hi or hey, what's up. It should not be like that. It shouldn't be informal. It should be very formal. So if you are talking to, let's say, Mr. Bills, so you will say hi Mr. Bills, or you can say dear Mr. Bills. Then use gender non-specific titles if you are not certain. If you are not certain, definitely use gender non-specific titles such as, you can use to whom it may concern. Let's say you are writing a mail to some airlines. So you may not know like who will be reading this, who will be the recipient of it. So you can just write that to whom it may be concerned. That's the way you write it because you do not know whether the next person will be a madam or a sir. Some examples are Dear Professor Smith, Dear Sir, Dear Madam, or you can also write Dear Sir slash Madam. If you do not know what's the gender of the person or the recipient of the mail, then to whom it may concern. Dear Sales Team, you can write a mail to a team also. In that case, write Dear Sales Team or Dear Members of Committee. That is also for a group of people. So that's how you greet the recipient. Now the third part is email text, which is very, very important, and it's the actual message of the mail. Now, email text includes the main message and all the necessary details. Email text should have 1 to 3 paragraphs. When we say email text, it's not like a detailed message. It should also be precise and very much to the point. It should not have any filler words or any passive voice sentences. It should be very, very direct and very easy to understand, because nobody has the time to read long essays. People want it to be very crisp and very precise. No paragraph should be more than 3 to 4 sentences long. So in email text, there are three main types. First one is introduction. For example, my name is Saurabh Kubar and I am the general manager at this and this organization. I am delighted to inform you that we are now offering this and this. So introduction means you will be telling who are you and what exactly is the purpose of this mail. These two things should be answered in the first part of your email text. Then the second part is development, where you write the purpose of the email in detail. So let's say you are talking about that my name is Shantanu and I will be cancelling the next week's meeting. Then I'll be writing why. So all these WH questions, that is what, when, where, how, these questions should be answered in the development part. That is the second part of the email text. Then the last part is conclusion. Always thank the reader for reading it. And for example, I have written also, thank you for your interest in our catalogs. Whatever they have done for you, thank them for that, conclude it, and then finally you go and you close your mail. That is, keep it short and simple. Closing should be very easy. It should be simple. You can just write regards or best regards. You can also write thanks and regards, followed by your name and contact details. If you have any position in the organization, that also you can write. For example, best regards, Amitabh Verma, and contact detail. Or you can write best regards, let's say Shantanu Rana, my organization Great Learning, and my contact detail. Like that you can write it. So these are the four parts. That is, first your subject line, then your greeting, then your actual email text. It should be divided into certain paragraphs. No paragraph should be very long. And then finally the closing. Each and everything should be written in the active voice and it should be very easy to understand. Now let's talk about business phone calls. So we have discussed about interviews. We have also discussed about the written communication part, that is through writing emails. Now it's time for us to understand how exactly, when we are calling somebody or we are picking up a call, what are some important points to keep in mind and what are some common phrases that we can actually use. So first of all, let's look at some of the key important points that you should keep in your mind when you are calling somebody or you are picking up a call. So number one is, second or third ring is the ideal time to pick up the phone. So whenever somebody is calling you, they generally expect that you will be picking up the call in the second or the third ring. Don't pick up the call immediately, even if your phone is in your hand, because maybe the next person is still settling. So they always expect some delay. That's why I give them that chance and always pick up the call in the second or the third ring. That's the ideal time. The number two is, a pleasant greeting such as hello, good morning, or good afternoon, depending upon the time, should be used while answering the phone. Whenever you are in an office setting, you pick up a call, this should be the first thing. Even when you are calling somebody or you are picking up a call, always greet them. Following the greeting, the person should state his or her name and the name of the company. So if you are calling to somebody else, maybe in different organization, in different team, or to some colleague also, first of all, state your name and tell them about your organization and then ask them their name. It should not be the case that you greet them and then you are asking for their name. First of all, you tell them about yourself and then you ask them about themselves. That's the way. Then do not transfer a call without first telling the person on the other end of the line and obtaining their permission. Same goes when you want to put somebody on hold also. Make sure you get their permission first. So whenever, let's say in business setting, it is very common that let's say one person is not able to reach out to one person. So they may connect with you and then they can tell you to transfer your call to that particular person. So in that case, do not transfer the call directly. Always tell them that, yes, can I please transfer your call to this and this person? Take their permission and then do that. It should not be like the next person does not have any idea what you're doing right now. So always tell them, communicate the same to them, take that time, transfer the call or put it on hold, do whatever is needed and then get back to them. So that's the best way to handle this situation. Then don't interrupt the caller, listen patiently. Whenever we're talking about business communication, a very important part of communication is active listening. If you will not listen properly, you will not be able to answer properly as well. You will not be able to channelize your thoughts also, because you do not know what exactly the other person said. So make sure you listen them do not interrupt them and then you speak. And by any chance, because we are on a call, we are not in front of each other, so we may interrupt by mistake. In that case, always apologize for the same. Tell that I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Can you please repeat the same? Then last point is when you are eating, chewing or drinking, don't answer the phone. Always answer the phone when you are completely settled and you can talk to them properly. Because if you are eating at the same time and you are talking to them, they may feel that you are not giving proper attention to them. And that may not be a very good thing for a proper business setting or an office setting. So make sure you follow these important points and then you answer the call or you call somebody and then talk to them. Now let me give you some common phrases that you can use as it is in your business setting whenever you are talking to somebody over a phone. So number one is it's very informal that hello Arjun here. Whatever your name is, you can just say hello or good evening, my name is this, or hello Shantanu here, like that. The next point is hello Ramya, this is Arjun calling from XYZ. So if you are talking to somebody within the same organization, you can just tell them your name. But if you are talking to somebody who's not from the same organization, maybe you are talking to some client or maybe you are talking to somebody from some different organization, in that case, always tell them your name and then about your organization also. For example, good evening, my name is Shantanu Rana, I'm calling you from Great Learning, like that. Then next is, may I know who am I speaking with? If you do not know who's the next person who has called you, ask them, may I know who am I speaking with? And if you have called them, tell them your name and then ask for their name. The next point is, may I speak to Mr. Sharma in the HR department, please? If you want to connect with a specific person in a particular department, use the words such as may, would, could. Never use the words such as can. That's not very polite. Words like would and may, these are very polite words. Use the word please also because they are doing something for you. Then thank them for the same as well. Then one moment, please, I'll see if he's available. If somebody is telling you to connect them with a particular person, always tell them that one moment, please, I'll see if he's available. Because maybe you'll tell them, yeah, okay, I am connecting, and then you go and you see that person is not available. So always ask for that time, take that permission, and then go ahead with the same. Then could you kindly say that again, or could you please spell it for me? So it is very, very important. A lot of times we are, let's say, giving a word, or let's say you are calling for a particular airline services, and they will ask you for your PNR number. In that case, it has some letters, some words, so they will tell you to spell it out. So whenever you are spelling it out, you can use this sentence that could you please spell it for me? And if you are spelling it out, always use the words also. For example, you want to say PNR. So do not just say PNR, always say that P for parrot, N for nest, R for this, something like that. So always attach a word so that the message is delivered in the correct form. Then if you want to hold a call, then you can say, please hold for just a minute, I have an important call. Maybe you are talking to somebody, but at the same time you get a very important call for some client or maybe your boss, depending upon the situation, and you want to put them on hold. So without putting them on, without just saying anything, if you put them on hold and start talking to anybody else, that may look very weird. So always say that please hold for just a minute. I need to talk to somebody or I need to take this important call. I have an important call. You can use this sentence as it is. Then Sneha is busy right now. Would you like to leave a message? If somebody is telling you to connect with a specific person, but you see that they are busy, then you can use this sentence that person is busy right now. Can you please leave a message for them? Rather than can, use the word would. Would you like to leave a message for them? If they don't, they will not leave a message. If they want, they will deliver the message to you. And when that person is free, you can go to them and tell them. Then thanks for calling. Bye for now. If you want to end a call, just don't cut the call simply. Always give a proper closing. Say that thanks for calling. Bye for now. Or you can say, I'll talk to you again soon. Bye Julia, or whatever their name is. Or you can greet them again and you can just cut the call. So that's the best way whenever you are answering a call or you are calling somebody. So always keep these important points in mind and use these phrases in any office setting. Now let's talk about business English for negotiation. So whenever you want to convince somebody, you want to negotiate with them, it can be in your interviews also when you want to negotiate about salary, or it can be about any orders or deals when you are a part of any organization. So here I will be telling you some key important points that you should keep in your mind, and along with that I will be giving you some common phrases also that you can use during a office setting whenever you are trying to negotiate with somebody. So as you can see on the screen, point number one is that have a clear objective. Whenever you are negotiating, it is very important to understand that what exactly is the purpose behind it. Your vision should be very, very clear, that what exactly is the goal where you want to reach. That desired position should be very clear in your mind. Then only you will be able to communicate effectively the idea behind it. Then have an understanding of your leverage. You should know on which part you can negotiate and on certain things that you cannot negotiate about. You should do your homework, you should do that part of research, and you should know what exactly is your leverage. Then understand the expectations from the other party. That's again a part of your research and homework. You should know what exactly is the expectation of the other party. Along with your vision, you should also have an idea that what exactly is that thing that the other party wants. What exactly are they expecting? That thing should also be very, very clear in your mind. Then do your research. As I already told you that you should do your homework. You should know what exactly is the second party, what are their expectations, what is your vision, what are you going to make a deal about. That all those things should be very, very clear when you are going to negotiate about anything. Then identify common goals and areas for compromise. That's actually the most important point whenever we are talking about negotiation. So when we say negotiate, that does not mean disagreement. That does not mean that it will eventually be a conflict between two parties. No, it does not have to be. What you can do is you can just try to find out certain common goals. The other party wants something, you want something. But why do you want that and why the other party wants that? There will be certain common goals behind those words and sentences. What are those common goals? Figure out those goals and compromise. Certain things you'll have to compromise on, certain things the other party will have to compromise on. And then eventually you will be able to crack a deal, you will be able to negotiate. And that's what negotiation is all about. Collaboration, compromising. All those things are nothing but very important components when we are trying to negotiate. And all these things should be very clear to you. Only then you will be able to communicate effectively the idea behind the deal or the order or whatever it is. And that's what business communication is. Putting your words, putting your sentences out there very loudly so that it's very clear and the message is delivered in the correct form. Now let me give you some common phrases that you can use in a negotiation setting. Number one is that number flexible at all? Let's talk about the salary negotiation part. So if you are in an interview and somebody is telling you that this is the salary that we can offer, so you can ask them that is that number flexible at all? Can we negotiate on that? If you can do that, I am on board. On board as in I am able to go ahead with this particular deal or order or whatever it is. Then I'd like to suggest a solution. If you do not know, like, there's some, let's say, some kind of deadlock and you do not know how to break that in order to negotiate, then you can say that I'd like to suggest a solution if you have any. Then let's consider some alternatives. Rather than saying that I disagree with this plan or I do not think it's a good plan, you can say let's find out some alternatives, and you can say let's consider some alternatives. That's a good way of saying that you are not very happy with the current plan. Then I understand your point, but one size does not necessarily fits all. That's also very important. So maybe the next person is not empathizing with you. They are not putting themselves into your shoes. So you want to say it out. Then in that case, you don't have to fight with them. You don't have to create a dispute. You can say it very simply by using this one line that I understand your point, but at the same time, you need to understand that one size does not necessarily fit all. Then let's summarize our discussion to see if we are on the same page. When we say we are on the same page, that means your idea behind this thing and my idea behind this thing is parallel. It is synced with each other. It should not be like you are thinking something else and I am thinking something else and we are agreeing just because of misunderstanding. Each and everything should be very clear. So at the end, when the negotiation part is done, you can say let's summarize our discussion to see if we are on the same page, if we all are thinking in the same direction. So that's how you can use these common phrases whenever you are negotiating with anyone, and you will be able to communicate your thoughts and your words very clearly. Now let's talk about making presentations. So you must be knowing that presentations are a very important part of any business setting. Whenever we talk about corporate world, sometimes you have to present certain things in front of the clients. Sometimes you have to present in front of the same team within the same organization. Sometimes you have to present in front of the different teams from some different organizations. There can be various situations, but the center of it is nothing but a presentation. Now, what are some important things that you should keep in your mind before you are presenting the particular topic? And what are some common phrases that you can use? So, I will be telling you all those things in this particular module. As you can see on the screen, point number one is that get to know your audience well in advance. Whenever you are going to deliver a particular topic, a particular talk, you should know what exactly is the type of audience that will be sitting in front of you. They are clients, or maybe they are from the same organization, it can be anything. But whether they are uninformed about the topic, whether they are critical, whether they are sympathetic, what kind of people will be sitting in front of you, how exactly you are supposed to talk in front of them, all of those things you should have in the back of your mind, and accordingly you should design the content of your talk. Then point number two is organize your data and present it in the easiest way possible. Whenever you are saying anything, including the facts, the numbers, the data in it is very, very important. You will be eventually understanding these things if you are a part of an organization or if you are going to be a part of an organization. So data is very important, but at the same time, make sure that data is organized, and while you are talking or while you are presenting, it is very, very easy to understand and is very precise and to the point. Then choose an elegant layout for your presentation. That should be a given, that you should always be aware that it should not be very maybe a funky color or maybe something which is grabbing the attention, which is not even required. So make sure it's very elegant, simple, easy to understand. Then prepare for tough questions. There's a saying that if you can anticipate a question, always prepare for it. Whenever you're making a presentation, read it and just see what are the questions that are popping up in your head and answer those questions. Always prepare an answer for those anticipated questions. Because if you can anticipate a question, maybe the clients or the people who will be sitting as an audience, they can ask you the same question. So always prepare for those tough questions. Then have a strong opening and a stronger closing. Why a stronger closing? Because whatever you're going to say at the end, that will be the first thing that the audience is going to remember. So make sure you have a very strong opening. You can often with a quote also, or maybe with a specific fact which is related to the particular topic. Everything should be relevant for sure, but you can have a strong opening and then eventually you can close. And when you're closing your presentation, always summarize everything and then close. And when you are opening, always give the agenda and then start with the topic. Because whenever sitting, the audience is sitting in front of you, you have to make sure that they are very clear about everything. So first of all, if you'll give them the agenda, they will know what all we are going to discuss. And then eventually you will give them a summary. You will tell them what are the some important key takeaways from that particular talk. What are the important things that they should keep in their mind and that you have discussed over here. And then eventually you close. And the closing should not be a surprise. Always tell them that you are going to close. Always mention that and then close. The closing may have a surprise, but it should not be the surprise. It's a famous saying. So always make sure whenever you're going to close, you always say that, so now I would like to close this talk by saying, so any sentence you can use, and then eventually you close. Thank them and then sit. That's how it actually works. Now, let me give you some common phrases also that you can use. So number one is, hi everyone, I am Rohit from the sales team, and today I'd like to discuss about. So that's the introduction part. Whenever we are, there in front of people, not everyone will be knowing you. Maybe some of them knows you or maybe all of them knows you, but it's always a good idea to greet them and introduce yourself. Tell them your name, which department you are from, and which organization you are from, and then the purpose of that talk, and then give them the agenda. So that's the basic sequence you need to follow. Then on behalf of XYZ company, I would like to welcome you here. You're welcoming them, greeting them. Then my talk is divided into N parts. That is nothing but the agenda part. Tell them that I will be dividing this conversation or this talk into these many parts, where I'll be discussing about this in the first part, about this in the second part, and about this at the end of the presentation. Always give them an agenda. then I'll be glad to answer this question at the end. So if somebody is asking you a question, but you are in the middle of something, you are explaining something. So in order to make sure that you don't lose that train of thoughts, you can just say that I'll be glad to answer this question at the end. Then before I begin, does anyone know about? So if you want to, move from one particular slide to a next slide, maybe if you have a proper PPT, then in that case, you can just say that before I begin or before I move to the next slide, does anyone know about? You can already ask about a particular thing that you are going to discuss in the next slide in order to engage or interact with the audience that is sitting in front of you. Then I'll start with some basic information on the this is something when you are starting, you can just, have a ground first and then build something on that. Then right, let's move on to. If you are moving from one slide to another slide, you can use this sentence that right, let's move on to this slide now. Or does anyone have any question before I move on? This is also one way. If you're moving from one slide to another slide, before you move on, you can say that does anyone is having any kind of question regarding this particular topic? If not, we'll just move on. Then at the end, as I told you, at the end you should summarize each and everything. So you can say, so to summarize the important points of my talk, and then you summarize everything. Then that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. So you are mentioning that it's a closing, that brings me to the end of my presentation, and then you are thanking the audience for listening to you. Then I'd like to conclude by saying that is also one way of closing the particular talk or the discussion that you were having. So these are some important common phrases that you can use as it is. You can take a screenshot of it and you can use it whenever you are going to deliver a presentation in front of clients, teams, or maybe if you are in a college in front of your class, you can always use these sentences. So now let's try to understand what are some most important business abbreviations, or you can say corporate jargons, which are used in an office setting. So we will be discussing all those jargons which are used very frequently while you are communicating something, while writing to the client or maybe to a team member, to a colleague, to your boss, to anyone. Even if you are in your college and you are writing a mail to your professor, head of the department, you can use these abbreviations. So number one is PA, that is performance appraisal. So you must have heard that there are performance appraisal cycles in the organizations, in the companies. This is very commonly used in the HR department, human resource management team. Then NWR is non-work related. You must have heard about some NWR meetings. So that's your non-work related NWR. Then ROI, very common word used in general life also at times, return on investment. You must have heard that ROI for this college is very good, which means the comparison of the fees with the placement package at the end of your graduation or post-graduation, whatever degree you have completed. So that's whatever is the return from a particular investment that you have made. ROI, return on investment. Then CSR, corporate social responsibility. So each and every company will be having some CSR. It is very commonly used again in HRM team, that is human resource management team. Then B2B and B2C are used very commonly in sales, marketing, or business development teams. B2B means business to business and B2C means business to customer or business to consumer also, you can say. So when you are dealing with two organizations from one business to another, that will be B2B. But when one organization is dealing with a customer or with an end-to-end consumer, that's nothing but B2C cycle. Then CTA is call to action, pushing to take some action. CTA, call to action. Key performance indicators is known as KPI. So, your some indicators will be set which will decide your performance eventually. So those indicators are nothing but your KPIs, key performance indicators. Then NRN, no reply necessary. You must have seen NRN written at the end of certain mails. That's nothing but no reply necessary. That means just read the mail and no need to reply. Then CRM, customer relationship management. You must have heard about there are lots of famous CRM softwares. Then those are nothing but CRM as in customer relationship management. It is also very common in the sales team when they have to manage a relationship with the customers, end-to-end customers. Then EOD is end of the day very commonly used, that please get this done by EOD. Please send me that mail by EOD. Please sign that document by EOD. EOD is nothing but end of the day. Then ASAP, ASAP, that is as soon as possible. Please send me that message ASAP. Please send me that mail ASAP. Then OOO is nothing but out of office. If you are taking a leave for today or maybe for a few days, you can just write I'll be OOO for these many days, out of office for these many days. Then ETA is estimated time of arrival. So its estimated time of arrival is 16 minutes. You must have seen this in e-commerce websites when you order something and the deliveries, you try to track the delivery. So it will be written that the estimated time of arrival, or sometimes it's written ETA is these many days, or let's say 16 days, 18 days, whatever it is. Then EOW is end of the week. Just like EOD is end of the day, EOW is end of the week. Then FYI, that means for your information. So if you are a part of any organization, you must have seen that whenever you want to bring something to the notice of somebody, you want to add that person into the mail, you will always write FYI at the rate that person. So that FYI is nothing but for your information. You are informing somebody. Then POC is point of contact. You must have heard, it is written in resumes also, that I was a point of contact between the organization and the customers, or between the organization and the interns. So that POC is nothing but point of contact. Then SPOC is just related to POC, single point of contact. If you are the only point of contact, that will be a SPOC, SPOC, single point of contact. And IMO means in my opinion. If you are writing a mail, you are writing your opinion about something, you can just say IMO and whatever the situation is. That means in my opinion, IMO. So these are some very common, which I've used very, very frequently, abbreviations, and you can also use them in your day-to-day life in an office setting. So now that we have reached the summary part of this course, I'm sure and I'm really glad that you have covered all other sections. And now you have learned what are some common phrases, some examples, some techniques, some purposes, that why exactly we are using business English, what is the importance of it, and how eventually you can implement it in an office setting. Now let me try to summarize this entire course for you. I'm not going to get into the depth of, whatever we have covered, but I'm just going to tell you one simple thing, that whenever we are saying business communication or business English, eventually it is nothing but delivering a message in the correct form. So that should always be there in the back of your mind. You should know what exactly is the purpose of business English. If you know the purpose of it, you will be able to deliver the message in the correct form for sure. When we are talking with our family or maybe with our friends, it is not very impactful that whatever words we are going to choose or whatever we are going to say, because eventually they will understand us. It's not a big deal for them to understand us because they know us, we know them. But when we are in a business setting, sometimes we are dealing with clients, sometimes we are dealing with different competitors, sometimes we are dealing with clients from different organizations, employees from different organizations. So it becomes very, very complex to deliver a message in the correct form, because what we say, what we think, and how it is delivered can be all different things at the end of the day. So we have to make sure that whatever thoughts we have, those are synced with whatever we are saying, and that comes with practice. In this course, I have given you a lot of phrases, a lot of examples. I hope you will be using those things in your day-to-day life in an office setting, and eventually you will be a master of business English. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any queries or suggestions, and I'll respond to your comments.